Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Brakak, Double honors to the apostles, bishop, and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren out there teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there. Shalom. I'm the brother Damal Gabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. All right, and I was reading articles this morning, and I happened to come across this one from Zero Heads titled, J.P. Morgan's Biometric Mandate Signals New Era of Workplace Surveillance and Finance. All right, this is a very interesting article because it's showing you the signs of the times. It's showing you where, eventually, workplace requirements are going to be. Now, of course, they're doing this here, and at this J.P. Morgan Finance company for their employees. But you have to understand that this is going to basically be the model in the near future. All right, pretty soon, everything is going to require your biometrics. All right, whether you're working in a warehouse, whether you're working in finance, whether you're working at a grocery store, whether you're a bus driver, all these companies are going to eventually adopt this new dystopian futuristic system to where eventually all of your biometrics are going to be required. Like we constantly tell you here at Great Millstone, is going to eventually require you to have the micro C-hip, the mark of the beast, which is the implantable RFID microchip. All right. And you have to understand that and see where things are going. All right. You can't, be stuck in the mud, man. You have to really pay attention and see, where these devils are taking society. And it's only a matter of time before eventually, this is everything is going to require this. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, you had the Prime Minister of the UK, Starmer, say, in order for you to work in the UK, you're gonna have to give up your biometrics. And like I said, it's not just going to be just to work in the UK or eventually here in America. It's going to be all over the world. In order for you to receive, in order for you to participate within society, you're going to have to give up your biometrics. And eventually you're going to have to receive that MOTB, that charagma, that C ragamuffin, man. All right. And it's our duty and our job to continue to do lessons on these shows, so that we can give you warning and show you where these devils are literally taking it. And they're not going to stop. This is the direction that things are going. And eventually it's going to require your obedience and your acquiescence to it. All right. So let me start with this quick precept, which I don't have a lot of precepts. I just got a couple I wanted to bring out. That's just dealing with this situation. And this is Matthew chapter 16, verse 1. It says, the Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting, desiring him that he would show them a sign from heaven. And he answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the sign of the times? You see? And that's things that we tell a lot of our people, they always say, oh, you're always talking about the MOTB. You're always talking about the mark of the beast. You're always talking about that topic. That's all you guys talk about, which we know is not true, but we're constantly talking about it. And every time we find information dealing with it, to give you warning, to let you know this is where this man is taking it. This is the wave of the future. This is what's eventually going to be needed in order for you to participate in this man's society. And we're telling you, under no circumstances, of course, if they use the biometrics system, at your job, which, I know at my job, it's there already to a small extent. Like in my job, when I go to work, I don't clock in. They have your fingerprint scan. I scan in with my fingerprint at my job. I clock in. I clock out for lunch, and I clock back in when I come back from lunch, and then I clock out when I leave the job. So it's required four times in a day for me to use my fingerprint to clock in, to clock out, clock back in, and clock out. So it's already there to a certain extent, but we know that's not the mark of the beast. But we know that's a gradual step ultimately to the micro C hip, to the charagma. And we're telling you, when they tell you you have to insert that charagma inside of you in order to buy and sell and to function and to be a part of this society and to function in society, that's when you have to gracefully bow out and decline, man. And that's when your faith is going to have to be totally in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because we know that's the hour of temptation. We know that, that's, that fulfills prophecy. And we're telling you, if you take it, that, first and foremost, you're going to receive a very gruesome, a grievous sore. And that, wherever you take that micro C hip, you're going to receive that grievous sore, that cancerous pus-filled sore. And eventually you're going to be destroyed by Yahweh Shai in the presence of the holy angels and Yahweh Shai via fire if you take that microchip. Okay. So that's why we're constantly going into it, so we can give you warning about it. See? But that's why I said, that's why we're constantly doing videos on this topic and constantly warning you, because we know the consequence that's going to come with it if you take it. And also, what this man is ultimately, the main reason why he's doing it, of course, it's to fulfill prophecy, but ultimately so that he can have total control over every aspect of every citizen, on this planet that received that that mark. Okay. It says, a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it but the sign of the prophet Jonas. Because basically, Jake want to, we're constantly going into it, but a lot of Jake just refuse to hearken, especially a lot of these other Israelite groups when it comes to the topic of the MOTB, the mark of the beast. They refuse to want to accept it is what, starting with the elders and the apostles, the great millstone, say it is. But here it is. You see all this technology, you see all this information, all these different things that are linking each and every individual with this technology on a day-to-day basis, all day, every day. You see, it lining up perfectly, but these people refuse to accept it. It's either one or two reasons: either they sold out, or they took the bag, or the Lord has just completely blinded them from the fact of what the matter is, which, we believe that it's impossible to miss. It's not that hard to figure out. It's not something that's overly complicated. It's just plain to see if you want to see it. But ultimately, a lot of these people don't want to see it because they have normalcy bias. They just want to believe that, this system, like this government will not, as if this system is not that wicked and that corrupt and that evil. A lot of people just don't want to see it, and they also don't want to accept it. So they just want to be, willfully ignorant of it. But hey, at the end of the day, the blood's going to be off of our hands, man, because we told you, and we're going to continue to tell you until we can't tell you no more. All right. So back in this article, it says, when employees began reporting to J.P. Morgan Chase New Manhattan headquarters later this year, they will be required to submit their biometric data to enter the building. You see, now, of course, they're going to tell you, oh, it's only required. It's not mandated. It's not mandatory. But we know that's how things always start. I'm pretty sure people might have an option at first, when they first open the building, not to have it. But we know eventually it's going to be required. Because why? They're going to build these new corporations and these new systems. This is going to be part of the system that company will be built upon. And if you want to work for that company, you want to be an employee there, this is going to be required. Just like, every job that you apply for and you work at, they have, their policies and their rules that, hey, once you sign on to that job, you're signing on saying that basically you're going to abide by those rules. And if what happens, if you violate those rules, if you go against the let's say the dress code policy or the policy of the job, and they find out you're violating and breaking those rules, what happens? You get fired. It's going to be the same with this new system that they're creating. If you want to work at this new J.P. Morgan's Manhattan headquarters, this is going to be the prerequisite for you to work there. All right. And this is what they're going to this is what they're going to do eventually with the whole MOTB system. Like I just used that example of the Prime Minister of UK, that Starmer guy. He said, if you want to work in the UK, you better have your biometrics up to date. No, he was like, that's the end all be all, point blank, period. You see? It says the policy, a first among major U.S. banks, makes biometric enrollment mandatory for staff assigned to the 3 billion 60-story tower at 270 Park Avenue. See, so it's mandatory if you want to work in this new updated facility for these J.P. Morgan. And they're going to eventually do the same with every employer will eventually have this mandatory mandate in the future. You see, this is why we've been telling you, don't think just because they're doing it in the UK or they're doing it only at that company and not at this company that it's only based upon, each individual company's discretion. We know eventually this is going to be required on all fields of society pretty soon. It says JP Morgan says the system is part of a modern security program designed to protect workers and streamline access, but it has sparked growing concern over privacy, consent, and the expanding use of surveillance technology in the workplace. You see, and they're always going to tell you, they're always gonna give you the reason why this is necessary, and it's never gonna be for the true intentions that they really have, but they're gonna tell you something to make you feel comforted and to make you feel like, oh, okay, it's just for security, it's just for our safety, not knowing that it's ultimately for complete and total control over you, man. A way that they can keep a very tight eye on every single employee and watch and monitor every single thing that you're doing to track your production. See if you're stealing company time, so to speak. Seeing if you're taking your breaks or your lunches for too long. Seeing if you're doing things, that go against policy. So ultimately they could, fire your ass for any and every little thing, make sure that you're being productive. Make sure that your full time on that job is being utilized to help and to, expand that company. But ultimately, we know it's for complete and total control, man. It says internal communications reviewed by the Financial Times and The Guardian confirmed that JP Morgan employees assigned to the new building have been told they must enroll their fingerprints or undergo an eye scan to access the premises. You see? And this is what we've been telling that these elites been saying. Unless you merge yourself with technology, you won't be able to function in society. And this is just a small example of how this new dystopian system is going to work. So if you want to work at JP Morgan, if you want to have access to that facility and to work there and get a paycheck, you must submit, your biometrics in order to even to enter the premises. And this is the world that these devils are building all around you. And like I said, in the future, if you want to enter into a grocery store, if you want to board a train, board an airplane, file your taxes or whatever. All of this biometrics and eventually the MOTB will be required, man. Otherwise, what? You're going to be locked out. Remember, if you want to work at this JP Morgan new facility, if you don't have the proper biometrics and the proper requirements, you can't even enter that building, man. So you see, so think about that on a greater scale as far as functioning in society. If you don't have, your micro chip, all your biometrics and yourself hooked and hijacked up to the grid, you won't be able to even to enter into this society, man. You'll be killed. You'll be separated. You won't have access. You'll be locked out. You see what I'm saying? It says, read that part again. It says, confirmed that JP Morgan employees assigned to the new building have been told they must enroll their fingerprints or undergo an eye scan to access the premises. Earlier drafts of the plan described the system as voluntary, but reports say that language has quietly disappeared. Yeah, you see? Because eventually it's going to be mandatory. It's not going to be no questions. It's not going to be no exemptions. You're not going to have any other option, but either you're in or you're out. You see? A company spokesperson declined to clarify how data will be stored or how long it will be retained, citing security concerns. Some staff reportedly may retain the option of using a badge instead, though the criteria for exemption remains undisclosed. And that's all a lie. They just told you that if you don't have your biometrics, you will not have access to the facility. You see? And again, this is just talking about this new building, but I'm pretty sure once they do it into this new building, they're going to bring that same technology to the older facilities, man. See, this is how this thing works. It says earlier drafts of the plan described the system as voluntary, but reports say that I read that already, it says the biometric access requirement is being rolled out alongside a work at JP Morgan Chase smartphone app that doubles as a digital ID badge and internal service platform, allowing staff to order meals, navigate the building, or register visitors. You see? Yeah, see, so now they're going to have an app that you can download, so what you can, so you can, what does it say? You can order meals, you can navigate the building, register visitors, et cetera. It's completely going digital on all levels. It says, according to its listing in the Google Play Store, the app currently claims no data collected, though that self-reported disclosure does not replace a formal employee privacy notice. In combination, the app can access system will allow the bank to track who enters the building, when, and potentially how long they stay on each floor, a level of visibility that, while defensible as security modernization, unsettles those weary of the creeping normalization of biometric surveillance in the workplace. You see? So now they're going to be able to, to keep tabs and to watch you and to make sure they know everywhere you're going. If you go and take a shit or take a piss, they're going to know where you're going. If you're on the second floor, the third floor, wherever you're moving, you're constantly going to be tracked and traced, man. There's nowhere you're going to be able to go where they're not going to be able to track you. You see? And this is the system that they're creating on a whole. So, fast forward it, instead of you having this app, or them just having your biometrics, eventually they're going to be able to ping your micro chip. You see? It says, executive has promoted the new headquarters as the most technologically advanced corporate campus in New York, and that it is designed to embody efficiency and safety. I saw videos where certain employees was working in Amazon warehouses, and they had AI systems in there, and it was literally tracking your production while you was on the work floor. No, it was in a Starbucks thing. I think it was showing this chick. It was watching her, keeping track of her efficiency, how many, how fast she was working, how productive she was being. And one girl was being very productive, but it showed another employee who was kind of just loafing around doing nothing, and they was tracking their production, and it was very low. You see, and they're putting these things in place so that they could, ultimately watch and track and see, how productive you're being, and basically to be able to, to keep those that are efficient and to fire those that are not as efficient. Like I said, they're going to be using it on many, many different levels, but ultimately as a way to track and to monitor and to, be able to value how valuable you are to that company. And they're going to be firing motherfuckers who not productive right on the spot, man, through using AI, through using this technology. You see? It says, reports suggest that the decision to make biometrics mandatory followed a series of high-profile crimes in Midtown, including the December 2020, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so they're saying, we can use this too to protect everybody. It'll keep us safe. It won't allow, individuals who are not, who are not, it would keep you safe by not allowing just anybody to come into our facilities. If there was a deranged gunman just trying to get in, if he's not accepted, or his biometrics are not up to date, he can't access the building. He can't come inside. He'll be locked out. It'll keep you safe, and that's always the little throw off shit that they do. It says, within the bank, the justification has been framed as protecting employees in a volatile urban environment. You see? Yet the decision thrust JP Morgan into largely uncharted territory. No other major U.S. bank has been publicly documented as requiring its employees to submit biometric data merely to enter a headquarters building. Yeah, not yet. But, hey, they always, they're using JP Morgan as a testing ground. But we know eventually all businesses, not just JP Morgan or other banks, U.S. banks, it's going to be everything pretty soon is going in this direction. Let me see. It says, what other large banks from Citigroup to Bank of America have explored biometric technologies internally, but there is no evidence any have adopted a mandatory company-wide biometric entry policy. Yeah, not yet. What else? Yeah, it says the industry analysis said that while JP Morgan's move is unusual, it aligns with a broader pattern. Banks and financial organizations use biometrics as internal control, securing staff access to sensitive data in restricted areas, said in an assessment by HID. What else is in here? Look at this. In its London offices, J.P. Morgan already uses a voluntary hand geometry system to control access to secure zones, which the company says stores only encrypted templates that it cannot reverse engineer. The mandatory program in New York appears to build on that experience, though the bank has not released technical details about encryption, storage, or other data segregation between systems, nor has it disclosed whether a third-party vendor will manage the biometric templates or if they will be housed on JP Morgan servers. Critics warn that bank's decision could normalize coercive data collection across white-collar workplaces. Well, no shit. Biometric identifiers are immutable. Once compromised, they cannot be replaced like a password or a badge. Yeah, because once they go forward with this system, they're not going to go backwards. This is why I said eventually, this is what it's going to be. Either you're going to be in or you're going to be out. Either you want to work at this facility or you want to work for this company or you don't. But like I said, but in the future, this is going to be the only option for every company, everywhere that you go. Like I said, if you want to go into a grocery store, you want to go buy and sell, all of your access to these different businesses, flight, your whole, interaction with this society is going to be based whether or not you have your biometrics or eventually your micro C-hip. That's going to be your only access in. And either you're gonna take it or you're not, man. You see? It says, what's that? Yep. I said the labor right attorneys note that even if employees technically consent, the choice is illusory when access to one's job depends on enrollment. They also point out that biometric logs could be theoretically be correlated with productivity or attendance data, creating a new vector for workplace monitoring. You see? And that's what I said they were going to do. And that's exactly what it's for. They're not bringing this shit to keep you safe from, urban environment or somebody coming in and wanting to do something bad to the employees. No, it's for total and ultimate control, man, to be able to monitor, to trace, to track, to make sure you're doing your job, make sure you're not over, you're not taking too long of breaks. You're not staying over your lunch break. Making sure you're not stealing company time and that you're being productive and constantly on the job, man. Of course, that's a reason why this shit is being used, and it's ultimately going to be used for a form of control. Think about it. If you know that your job is always watching you, they're always keeping track of every single production, every second of production that you're doing, you're going to be on the job. It changes your behaviors. Before, when you know that you can steal company time, you can take a little bit longer break, you can take a little bit longer lunch. Or if you can, if you're on the job, you're supposed to be doing something, but you're kicking back, chilling. If you know that that's always being monitored and traced and tracked and they're on top of everything, it changes your behaviors. You're constantly going to be working. That, the supervisor, even though he's sitting in his office and he's not literally has eyes on you, that there's eyes on you, you're definitely going to move and operate different. You see? And you know that at any moment that they see something that's out of the ordinary or that's out of the norm, your job can be at jeopardy. You're going to move different and operate differently, man. It's all about control. You see? It says they also point out that biometric logs could theoretically be correlated with productivity or attendance data, creating a new vector for workplace monitoring. Still, corporate adoption is accelerating, propelled by a security industry eager to market frictionless access control. Vendors pitch biometrics as faster and more reliable than key cards or pins, eliminating lost credentials and streamlining compliance audits. In sector handling large financial transactions, in case for stronger authentication is easy to make. For banks that have weathered cyber attacks, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. What else? Yeah, so you can see, hey, this is where society is headed. This is where things are going, and these devils are not going to stop, man. Like I said, it's going to eventually lead to the MOTB. This is Revelations 13 and 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And we go into that word killed all the time. The word is apoktino, but when you go to the word apo, it means to be separated. And you see, and part of the part of the image that they're creating, which we know, the image goes back to the Roman Empire, but now it's in this new accelerated technological image. And it says what? If you don't worship, or if you don't accept it, if you don't bow down to this new image, the new wave of this futuristic Roman Empire, you're going to be separated. All right. If you don't, eventually, if they had this system in place all around society, like I said, if it's either you're in or you're out. If you don't bow down and to accept it and go along with all their new policies and have your biometrics linked, and you eventually have your micro C hip, you're going to be separated from functioning in society. And he calls of all, you see, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark, which that crest, the charagma, that micro C hip, in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So, looking at it as an example, JP Morgan in their new facility, if you don't have your biometrics submitted, you're not entering into the building. You won't have access to function or to work or to get a paycheck or none of that shit. If you don't accept those new terms that this new JP Morgan building, their new headquarters, is demanding of its employees. And so just think about that in a grand scale, of functioning and moving around in this man's new world order. If you don't have these things, the prerequisites, everything that's needed to function and to maneuver and to be identified and to buy or to sell or to operate within it, you ain't getting in, homeboy. You see? And remember, and this shit is accelerating. Like I said, it's not going to be just at this JP Morgan's new headquarters. It's going to be like that eventually in every area of society, man. And we've been warning and telling you, Jakes, this is where things is headed. This is where this man is taking it. So you better wake up and smell the coffee. And if you, and eventually we're all going to have to make a choice, man. Either we're going to put our faith and trust in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, or we're going to trust in this man's system and what he's laying on the table. And hey, you're gonna have a decision to make. So with that, I'm gonna close it there. I think the point was made. So Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit in me to do this lesson. Lord willing, you are edified. Until the next one, shalom.